Hi, my name is Molly Parker. I want to thank Susan for making the points that she made so that all of my hand scratching and rebuttal notes can be skipped over and I can stay within my 2 minutes and not have to counter with my 3 anecdotal stories. I have one child. My 18-month-old daughter, Lila, was born at home into the hands of capable, loving Georgia midwives in June of 2005. I'd like to provide a little bit of background quickly on why I chose home birth. My name is Molly, and I'm a researcher. It's what I do professionally, but also it's the fabric of my being. Digging through data and information is what makes me tick and what determines the basis for most every major decision in my life, from buying a car to knowing and understanding the ingredients list on my shampoo. Give me a topic of interest, and I'll find the relevant information, supporting statistics, current schools of thought, conventional wisdom, and dissenting positions in no time. I have a friend that teases me that I was the first person to make it to the end of the internet. I was 30 years old before I felt I had read enough to begin seriously consider having children. I had a lot of research to do regarding child rearing, breastfeeding, fertility planning, education options, diapering decisions, vaccinations, healthcare, car seat manufacturing, collision dynamics. And I've come to terms with the fact that I won't have time to read everything ever written about child rearing. But it didn't take long for me to know that my midwife-assisted home birth was the option for me if I ever decided to give birth. I never knew anyone who had given birth at home, but after reading hundreds, maybe thousands of birth stories and articles and books and websites, I knew that I wanted an unmedicated, intervention-free, hands-off birth. After a lifetime assault of imagery from a society that fears birth and portrays it as pain and misery, I learned to trust my body and to trust birth to happen unhindered. I read both hospital birth stories and home birth stories, and they were consistently different in how labor and birth were managed. But the most striking difference to me was the language of the women who authored these stories. Excuse me. Hospital birth stories come with phrases like, "I was allowed to do this. I was told to do that. They let me do this. I was yelled at. I was laughed at. I was threatened." The most unsettling to me, I had to earn my baby after the birth. Home birth stories typically project a very polar viewpoint and voice. Women speak of empowerment and decision-making being in their own hands, with midwife caregivers providing support, encouragement, and trust in nature. My own birth experience was no exception. I was empowered and all decisions were left to me. Of course, the one exception to this was when I insisted to my midwife that my baby was descending through my colon rather than the birth canal. At which point I was firmly told that my body and I were wrong on that single point. Lucky for me, my friends, family, and support network are logical people who respond well to data and facts. And I was able to provide anyone with doubts or questions with copious anecdotal, sociological, historic, and scientific data supporting my choice for my safest, most baby-friendly birth possible. I eventually even won the quiet support from my best friend, who, by the way, is an obstetrician. Unfortunately, I'm embarrassed to live in a state that isn't quite as logical or as open to understanding and supporting choice as the members of my support network. So I'm ecstatic that this proposal has made it this far, and I'm so moved to see the home birth community rally together with such enthusiasm and competence. My first thoughts about this proposed legislation were from a birthing mom-centric perspective. How would legalizing and recognizing direct entry midwifery benefit me? I was excited about the prospect of my next birth being attended legally. But then as I considered it further, I realized that while this is a women's right issue and a choice issue, that it wasn't just about me and my choice of where I give birth. My next children will be born at home, regardless of the outcome of this legislation. I'll find a midwife whether we're legal or not. I realized that this is critical legislation not because of what it can do for me, but what it can do for midwives. Imagine for a minute that you're a highly skilled, experienced, and educated in a field. You make a difference to women, children, and fathers every day of your life. You give families a safe choice for their most precious, vulnerable life moments. Now imagine that you have to always look over your shoulder. You have to lie and sneak and work beneath the law to provide something that's not just a job, but a calling. You can't even keep your clients' financial or health records openly. I have to believe that direct entry midwives always have an anxiety of looking over their shoulders and feeling that some lawmaker or health official is after them and that prosecution may only be a birth away. Let's protect one of humanity's oldest and most precious professions. These women put their necks on the line every day for women like me to birth with freedom and luxury. Let's give them the luxury of doing their jobs without fear of prosecution.